Alright, the thing says we're live, so we hope for the best. We hope. Um, as I share this in the Discord servers, hoping people join. There we go, boom. So just bear with me one moment. My server has descended into me pinging people saying I'm live, which is not great. Something I need to work on. Discord asks me every time if I'm sure, and I'm like, yes, obviously I'm sure. Okay. So we've got some people's questions. It's the best bit of the song as well. We'll go back to that later. So we've got like people's questions and stuff we'll go through, and then I'll go through some topics. I want to keep this stream to be about an hour, so I'll probably end about just before 7 UK time. Hopefully that's alright with everyone. I've got a can here to keep me going as well, non-alcoholic of course. So if my drinking's loud on stream, let me know and I'll cut it out. As in, I'll stop drinking. Like, I can't physically edit the sound. But yeah, I found normally having something fizzy does clear my throat out. So it does help. Yeah, we've got a few people watching, and so we'll start. We'll start in a moment. I think we'll go through some of the questions. We've got a few. We've got two here, and we've got one on another post. So we'll look at those in a sec, if that's all right with everyone. The idea behind this stuff was not really to research this stuff beforehand, but given that people have like very specific questions, means I have to Google stuff, which is fine. It's fine, but it's like I don't really have an argument against that. I'm trying to argue that I don't want to do research, but to answer people's questions, which obviously I have to do research. So yeah, that's always a fun one to figure out in my head. But yeah, we should be all good. Let me know how the sound is and everything else, and yeah, we can proceed. So we've got this one, and we'll have to go back and go through another post. But I'm thinking I'll do this every Saturday. I'll stream. I'll try to stream, and every Friday I'll put up a community post asking people questions. Good stuff. That's what I like to hear. Asking people what, if they've got any specific questions, just because I think it's a good format to use. Excuse me, that's going to happen a bit. Hopefully it's not too loud. But yeah, so we've got a couple of questions here, and I'm hoping people just watch this back if they've got questions, so you can watch like the first 10 minutes of the live stream, and hopefully you should have your question answered depending on how many questions there are. So hopefully, as I make this a routine, it just carries on, because I've wanted to add an extra live stream on for a long time now. It's just I've never figured out a day, because other people live stream like most days, so I think it's just about just trying to compete with other people, I guess. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, first question we go to Peter Heath, which is, please tell us the reason you got into politics. Peter from Australia. And I won't debase myself trying to do an Australian accent, because my name's not Jack Atlas. But I think it was because I had a really, really good history teacher. And I mean, he was one of the best teachers. He is the best teacher I've had, Mr. Vernon. From the West Midlands. I'm not sure if he's still alive, because he wasn't like old, but excuse me one second. He wasn't like super old, but I think he was in his 60s. That would have been about 10 years ago, so he'd be in his 70s now. But yeah, he made history class really interesting, and the good thing about, I guess, politics is that it's still ongoing, so it's easier to follow. And the more I've kind of disliked, or not disliked, but the more I've kind of struggled to read books, because I'm uni kind of killed not it wasn't university even. It was just I struggle to read books now, and I'm not sure why. It's very anti-intellectual, I know. But it's just something I just get bored of, like reading. I have tried. Maybe it's the books I'm reading. I tried to read like Stephanie Kelton's book on modern monetary theory, and I just couldn't read it. I just struggled really hard. There's another book I think I tried to read because I remember asking my brother for a bookmark, but I can't remember what it was. I've got one of my favorite books that I read when I was younger on the shelf as well, hardback book. It's really good, honestly. If you like kind of medieval kind of war stuff, if you guys want a recommendation on that one, I can give you that one later. But I bought that book. It's really good. So yeah, the good thing about politics is it's ongoing, so I think it's a bit easier to keep track of, and it's more impactful on your life rather than reading about, say, Lloyd George, who was quite interesting, given that he was one of the ones who helped kind of start the foundations of the welfare state. He obviously got some win in World War One with the help of the Americans and other groups. He was one of the ones that didn't want to punish Germany that much at the end of World War One because he saw them as a potential ally against communist Russia, or kind of the communists in Russia. But also, the guy was a massive anti-Semite. He was very, very anti-Semitic. Start taking best place to read. Yeah, it's all fun and games, so the book falls in the bath. But so I probably should read comments after I've answered each question, just because it's easier. I get distracted very easily, as you can tell by the chat. But Lloyd George, massive anti-Semite, and you're like, wow, like obviously people are complicated, but you're like, wow, like you really hated like Jewish people. It's like, bro, like, so there was that. Lloyd George, I remember reading about him. He was interesting to read. It was Woodrow Wilson, the one who kind of set up the League of Nations, or if you're me, you call them the League of Legends because you're a massive nerd, and you done goofed on chat. That was genuinely one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made on our live stream, and it was the funniest. So I'll always talk about it because it was great. It was me getting rinsed in the chat just as people joined, talking about the League of Legends. Yeah, that was great. That was fun. I enjoyed that. One of my favourite streams, honestly. Me playing Mario Kart, being angry because I suck, and saying I wouldn't talk about politics, but I did. But yeah, so you had learning about Woodrow Wilson, a guy who was set the foundations for the League of Nations, but also very racist. FDR, I can't remember what the conflicts I had with FDR, but he was a guy who he did a lot of great things with his New Deal and other things, but as all kind of presidents and all kind of when you go through history, you'll read about presidents who were, of course, deeply conflicted people. So you can never say someone's absolutely good or absolutely bad. You can just say there were things where you're like, I'm not sure about that, or that's really bad, stuff like that, really. But I did read some interesting stuff. In a book I used for my dissertation about US presidents. But, it's kind of going away from the question. Lloyd George petitioned Ulster. We are still paying... Yeah. That would have been around... Yeah, that would have been around that time. Yeah, Lloyd George. His name's spelt with 2 L's, which I always found annoying because it was annoying to spell. But you're still dealing with the consequences of these people. So I guess that's what made me kind of interested in politics, because it's ongoing. I was how old was I during the start of the coalition government? So I was in year 10, I think, or year 11. So left year 11. So 2012, I was about 16. So it would have been, when we were learning about the coalition government and stuff like that, and that was the first coalition we had, I think, since the war coalition. So that was obviously piqued my interest, and I did politics at A level, which ironically I did very badly on. But that's, I think, mostly because my essay writing skills were really bad back then, like extremely bad. That was one of the major problems I had. It's a lot better now, but it's not great. You can see it in my scripts, like the way I write and the mistakes I make. So I don't perfect it, but I guess it's just it's history in real time. It's the only way I can describe it, the present, so it's much more interesting for me to kind of follow and keep track of. And when you read history, when you read the books and stuff like that, sometimes you're viewing it through someone else's lens, someone else's analysis on things, which can always skew your own judgment. Whereas when I look at these politicians we have today, I can I could more easily make my own judgment on them because I can see their actions kind of in real time and recent, like Boris Johnson writing 2 articles about supporting Remain and supporting Brexit, stuff like that. It's much easier to get, I think, a solid. Um, uh, God, I struggle with words. A solid kind of reading on people. Like Lloyd George. I wouldn't have known he was deeply anti-Semitic until I learnt about that in a different class. If you see what I'm saying, that's one of the reasons why I prefer kind of being involved in politics rather than history. But it's just a thing I naturally gravitated towards. I can't explain why. Like the things I enjoy, like with football, I enjoy football because it's something I play with my mates a lot at school and outside of school because it's an easy sport to set up and it's fun. With gaming, my uncle he bought like a ridiculous amount of Capcom games back in the early 2000s. He had Onimusha, he had Resident Evil. He bought like I think all the Resident Evil games. He had multiple Onimusha games and stuff. So I naturally enjoyed gaming because that's what everyone else was doing, and I found it really fun. And I still find it really fun, as stressful as it is. So there's that. So I think that kind of answers your question. It's just something I've gravitated towards, and I can't fully explain why. That's the issue I've had, but I feel like because it has such a big impact in people's lives, it's an important thing to discuss. I think it's one of those things you can't shy away from, because of the impact it has on people. So that's what I would say about that one. So I hope that answers your question. If you do watch this back, see, Lloyd is an angelization of lewd, grey, which is spelt with one L, not two. Well, I would say Lloyd took multiple L's, but he didn't. It's just that peeps can't be bothered pronouncing the LL. Oh, okay, I think I see what you're saying. Greetings and good fortune to everyone. Lloyd is mentioned that comment earlier. So that I hope that answers your question, Peter, from Australia. So we go to Andrew Murray's question, which I've actually had to Google because I didn't really read up much about it. So what are your thoughts on Starmer's recent mouth noises that signal the Labour Party's reforms will be like Tony Blair's amending of Clause 4 on steroids? The amending of Clause 4, the point in the 90s where Blair's New Labour abandoned the principles of nationalism. So I think it's worth just quickly looking at Clause 4. So, see, where is it? Here, I was reading about it. My university lecturer got really mad at me because we didn't know what Clause 4 was, so that was fun. He goes, what do you mean you don't know what Clause 4 is? But yeah, so it was... So Clause 4 was, quote, the changes of machinery are not... I think it's this one. Is it? In Part 4. No, it's this one. To secure for the workers by hand or by brain the full fruits of their industry and the most equitable distribution thereof that may be possible on the basis of common ownership of the means of production, distribution, exchange, and the best obtainable system of popular administration for each industry or service. So I think that's the original version of Clause 4. So it's very socialist, the means of production. Aki's game on BBC. What? Okay, can you run that again, Aki's? I don't know what that means. So yeah, if you got the original bit of Clause 4, it's very very socialist, talking about the means of production. The workers seizing the means of production, things like that. So they would get the full fruits of their labour rather than it being taken by shareholders and managers and CEOs and all that kind of stuff. So that's important. So if you look at what Tony Blair did, so Tony Blair changed it to: the Labour Party is a democratic socialist party. It believes that by the strength of our common endeavour, we achieve more than we achieve alone. So there's kind of talking about the collective above the individual, I guess, or being a collective is more beneficial than being an individual. So as to create for each of us the means to realise our true potential, and all of us and for all of us as a community in which power, wealth, and opportunity are in the hands of many. Not the few, where the rights we enjoy reflect the duties we owe. Sounds a bit like Corbyn. Something Corbyn said for the many, not for the few, and where we live together freely in a spirit of solidarity, tolerance, and respect. So there's a lot of fluff in there, but I think what he's kind of pushing is I think Aristotle's idea of the community. So it's quite interesting for him to kind of push that idea, but it makes sense. So if we go to, let me get rid of this. So I don't have too many tabs on the main screen, which I already do. People are going to talk to me about that. But if we look at I found this article from Sky. It's from last week, but I think that's when Starmer mentioned it, and that Tony Blair thing was very vague. Yeah, no, it was very important because if you look at what the original clause 4 was about seizing the means of production. So that's very socialist. That's talking about the workers owning things. That's what it means. I think when they talk about the common good, it might mean society owning it, or it might mean the workers owning it. So that's it is a big change compared to what Blair wrote, which is about the collective. As a collective, we can achieve more than being on our own. So it's kind of his what Blair wrote was, if you look at what Aristotle wrote, I think it's very similar, talking about the community. I don't know much about Aristotle because I only had to learn about him for one class, kind of one module, but it was very interesting, very very interesting to say the least. A really odd dude, that's for sure. Loved asking people questions. Can't have the workers owning stuff. Screw Blair. Yeah, I mean, some people try and rehabilitate Tony Blair, but I don't. I'm not. I'm not going to be one of those people. So if we look at kind of what Starmer was saying, I think there's some. I'm not sure if there's some quotes here. Actually, I should have researched this a bit better. But Starmer, yeah, blah blah blah. Is there anything actually important in here? Oh, I can't see. Oops. Oh, my headphones have gone off, so I'll put those back on later. They turn off after a bit. So Starmer, oh, I know what I've done. I've got the wrong article up. Huh. Serves me right. This is Sky News analysis that, that Labour's biggest weaknesses, they are hints at, the fact that they will. Where is it gone? Is that he will say anything he has to say. So the justification of this by Starmer supporters is that essentially upsetting a few Corbynites is a price worth paying for power. And I think they say in this article that Starmer will say whatever it takes to get into power. So this is the actual article I was looking for. So Starmer promises his reforms will be like Tony Blair's Clause 4 on steroids. So Starmer's planned reforms for the Labour Party will be like New Labour's famous Clause 4. So Clause 4 originally was about the means of production, whereas Blair changed it to be a lot more fluffy, I would say. So Starmer told the Progressive Britain Conference the, quote, Labour Party will only restore hope in the country if we once again become the natural vehicle for working people, an agent for their hopes and aspirations, a party for the common good. And so we'll end the quote there. And so the common good, so that's something that Tony Blair kind of talks about in his original one. So if I bring that back up, it might be easier. I will plan these better in the future, I promise. Where's it gone? So, we'll achieve, it believes that by our strength, this is the Tony Blair one, by the strength of our common endeavour, we achieve more than the individual alone. So you can see they're kind of talking about the community, I suppose, an agent for their hopes and a party of the common good. What is the common good? That's the problem. Let's see. So he says this about taking our party back to where we belong and where we should always have been, back doing what we were created to do. That's why I say this project goes further and deeper than New Labour's rewriting of Clause 4. This is about rolling up our sleeves, changing our entire culture, our DNA. This is Clause 4 on steroids. So I don't know if he's referring to Blair's Clause 4 on steroids, because I don't know if Clause 4 was changed by Corbyn, for example. I can't remember if he did. Actually, I can check here if they do mention Corbyn. Let's see. No, he doesn't. It doesn't mention it, so I don't think Corbyn changed it back. But point being is that it's very fluffy. Tony Blair's Clause 4 was very fluffy, and so by saying we're going to do this thing on steroids, it doesn't really make sense. Starmer said that the toughest part lies ahead and warned of more work to be done. But you realise he's being very vague here. That's the big issue I have with Labour. It's very hard to find out what they're talking about. Gregor Hand's talking nonsense because he's a moron. And then he talked about the Conservative Party no longer being conservative, and what he's talking about is small c conservatism. The problem is what Starmer is talking in is political terms that only a politics nerd or someone who's studied it would know. When you talk about the Conservative Party, you're talking big C conservatism, right? When you're talking about conservative ideals, just walking small c conservative. Can you guys see the difference, or do you want me to kind of go back through that in the chat? Just let me know quickly if you want me to run it back again. But these are two different things here: the Conservative Party and small c conservatism. So what he's talking about is small c conservatism, and that's why it's got like a small c in the quote. So let me know if you want me to run it back, and I'll take a quick drink break. All right, I'm going to take that as you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, and there's no issues. So, small c conservatism, that's what he's talking about. But the problem is when, I'm not going to name names. I'll be a bit more careful. I'm not going to name names today. But, you got certain people who will post this stuff on Twitter and say, look, Starmer saying we're the real conservatives, right? What he's talking about is small c conservatism, like preservation of nature and stuff like that, which, conservatives claim to be partially of their ideals to conserve, right? But, that's not what the Conservative Party believes. That's the problem. As it conserves, Starmer says, it conserves nothing we value, not our rivers, seas, not our NHS or BBC, not our families or our nation, he said. So what he's talking about is kind of conserving what we have, protecting it. So he's talking about small c conservatism, but the problem is it goes over most people's heads because most people aren't, political wonks. Most people don't study politics. So when you say conservative, they don't think you're talking about conservative, being conservative as an ideology. They think you're talking about the political party. I didn't realise I'd have to try and give like a really bad politics class here. Sorry, guys. But this is kind of what it's descended into, I guess. So yeah, just let me know if you guys ever get confused in the chat, and I'll just let me know what you want me to run back to, and I'll do my best to kind of explain things. But point being is that he's talked about clause 4 on steroids, right? Tony Blair's clause 4 on steroids, right? What does that doesn't mean anything, because what he's talking about is he sounds like he's talking to people who are politics addicts. Or members of the party and things like that, which I think in this case he is. But these kind of quotes, they're not a good look. I think he needs to break things down in much simpler terms, and he does explain what he meant by conservatism. But the problem is, journalists, take certain bits as headlines, and I think Labour should be a lot more intelligent in the stuff they say. Saying the Conservative Party aren't the party of the conservative ideology, that makes sense. But if you say stuff like we're the real conservatives, I'm just like, mate, that's just such a dumb thing to say. Such a dumb thing to say. So that's kind of that. So I'm just going to quickly just read the chat. Aki's game on BBC Alba. I don't know what that means, man. So LL as in CLEG. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. The only reason I know about clause 4 is because as a student activist, when they changed it, it was seen as, it was a significant change. I think we've mentioned that one, but it was very significant. It takes, what he says is, if we go back to the original text, see, he goes, the Labour Party is a democratic socialist party. So what he's done is he's taken the Labour Party away from being kind of a socialist party that will seize the means of production more towards kind of the Scandinavian ideals, or more towards the kind of Bernie Sanders kind of wing, where Bernie Sanders is not a socialist, he's a democratic socialist. I think, or so it's very confusing because these terms are like mixed in. People like muddle up terms and stuff like that. Wonder why they're not pushing H2 building production. H2, what's H2? Point being is that brain function. Point being is that it's a massive change. From going from like the Socialist Party about means of production more towards just talking about the common good, without the context of kind of socialism. It doesn't. It's not the same. That's the point. H2M hydrogen. Jesus, what is going on here? But yeah, that was. Hopefully that wraps up your question, Andrew. You're here in the chat, so you can let me know if you got any issues with anything I've said here today. And so we had a second post. So there'll only be one post in future, but H2 hydrogen. Did you not do science at school, bro? Like, I sucked at science, so I'm not going to answer that. Honestly, guys, yeah, you guys need some chill, all right? And I know 2 languages. I'm not learning a third. It makes sense about the Lloyd George thing. But yeah, I had another question about how did the voter ID laws system, it's from Cass, how did the ID for voting system go in the local elections? What were God damn it, Phyllis. Rackies were talking about football on TV. Don't worry about it. And for the Iron Brew, I guess I'll have some Iron Brew next week. Then appreciate it. There will be Iron Brew on the chat next week. Yeah, pretty much. He was saying he he wasn't necessarily saying the opposite, but I think what he was saying is we don't need to seize the means of productions to benefit society. I think that's what he was saying, and I hope that kind of we can wrap that question up there. But I think you get what I'm saying. It seems like, anyways. Not being a hardcore Labour person, anyways. I think that's a more of a question for Phil. So Cass was asking, how did the ID voting system go in the local elections? I've read different takes on the impacts, but Moggs admitted it was intended to cut Labour votes. What was the turnout overall? Reading a lot about not going to vote for Starmer, but this is just the algorithm at work. So, from what I've seen about the local elections, there wasn't a ton of people that were not allowed to vote. But the problem is, so my brain's just struggling. It wasn't like the turnout was low. I think it was like 20% or something like that. I'll have a look in a second what the turnout is, or turnout was for the local election. So turnout was low, so the amount of people turned back was low. But what Mog was doing, especially when you look at the fact that certain older people were allowed certain IDs and younger people weren't, they were very much trying to stop older people from voting. But some of these people, they vote habitually. They've been doing it for decades, and they never, excuse me, they were never asked for ID, and they never thought to take their ID with them, at least some of them. And so the problem is that because once they're asked for ID, you have to go home and get it, and some people might not want to do that. That was one of the problems they ran into. So thousands of people did not vote in England's local elections. They did not have correct ID according to council data collected by the BBC. So the headline for this, if you want to read this, Cass, is local elections 23. Thousands didn't vote due to ID rule data shows. So of these, let's go through this. So information from 160 of 230 councils where polls were being held this year shows 26,165 voters were initially denied ballot papers at polling stations. So originally 26,000 people denied, 16,588 people came back with valid ID, whilst 9,577 did not vote. So almost 10,000 people did not vote because they didn't have ID. So that was one of the things. Oh, you're questioning me, QA. I don't appreciate that. Trust me. I can handle Iron Brew. I've been drinking Iron Brew for well over a decade. When the cans were 40p, I used to buy them after school all the time. So no, there is no ID card in. There is, I believe, in Northern Ireland to vote you needed ID, but in Great Britain, which is England, Wales, and Scotland, before I get beaten up by people, you don't have national ID. So we don't have to carry identification with us. We just don't have it. Tony Blair did try and do it, and then people compared it to the Nazis, I think. So to answer your question, Sabine, we do not have ID cards. So there's about 10,000 people didn't vote. So let's see, that's who it impacted. The Electoral Commission, the problem is we don't know because not all of the details were kept. So most likely it's over the 26,000 cited. Roisin having problems posting comments. That's weird. I don't know. I don't know why she's having issues. If she's got any questions, she can DM me, to be fair, on Discord. And if you want to join the server on Discord, you can. There's a link for it in the description or the bio for the channel. It should be in both. In France, we need ID cards. It's mandatory. Well, we're built different over here. We have apathy. We don't protest. We don't write or anything. But we don't have to carry ID cards. But yeah, you don't have to have one. We don't have to carry ID. In Germany, you do. I know that because when I went there, we were told we should carry ID with us in case we get stopped by anyone. So the Electoral Commission is going to continue to get data on this, but for now, we can see around 10,000 people were not allowed to vote. So they're saying based on the information they have currently, which again is not 100% accurate, it's not 100% accurate because people weren't. It wasn't recorded properly. That was the issue. So at the moment, less than 1%, and in many cases, less than 0.5% were unable to vote. So David Cowling, BBC polling, former BBC polling expert, who's now visiting research fellow at King's College London, so probably no slouch, also says that it must be borne in mind that some voters initially turned away, later did return with ID, and that's what the kind of statistics we mentioned earlier do mention. Let's see. He says evidence from the Metropolitan Boroughs Council and the pilot suggests around 60% of people initially refused a ballot returned with valid ID, producing a rough figure of 0.2 refusals of the vote cast. So certain people they didn't come back, basically. And so the bigger point is some of the people make in this posting, Labour MP Clive Betts, who said, quote, the number of these people could be bigger than those who were turned away, he told, end quote, he told BBC. And that makes sense because it wasn't recorded officially. And so obviously, any voter being turned away is problematic. The government, Mogg admitted this was gerrymandering. Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg, who was in government when the measure was introduced, recently said Conservative moves to introduce voter ID had been an attempt at gerrymandering. So he's openly admitted that this was a fix. Which I believe is illegal, so I think someone's talked to the police about this, but I'm not sure. He said the measure had come back to bite them, claiming that his own party's vote had been hit because older voters who are more likely to vote Tory were more likely to lack an accepted form of ID, which I find very interesting. But I guess it makes sense because typically older people, they don't really go on holiday, I think, as much as younger people. They might not drive as much as younger people, so that might be the problem, but it depends. That's the problem. We don't have enough data to properly look at this because we know the Conservative votes were very low because they are hated. They are hated in this country. No one likes them. No one likes them. They're in the minus for approval. That's one of the issues. So previous government research found that over 85s were less likely to have acceptable ID. And these are the people who typically, I think, vote Tory. Electoral Commission studies have also said this is the case for unemployed people, council housing tenants, and those with lower educational qualifications. So if we look at two of these, right, unemployed people and housing tenants, I would assume that they would be more likely to vote for Labour. Whereas those with educational qualifications, it depends. So it'll be the people with just GCSEs, BTEC, stuff like that. They might vote for anyone. They could vote Tory. I don't think there's a set case for who they typically vote for, or at least things have changed over the last decade, anyways. Voters without accepted form of ID, estimated to be around 2 million, were able to apply for free certificate, allowing them to vote. Some 85,000 people, around 4%, applied online. So a lot of people don't know about this scheme where you can vote, you can get this certificate. That's the problem. So this whole thing, I hope they drop it before the general because this is it's blatant gerrymandering. That's the problem. And it's impacted themselves. It's impacted themselves. So I would say that this is a very stupid thing that they have done, and I'm glad it's come back to bite them, I'll be honest. So we'll go back to chat. I hope this has answered your question, Cass. So Verti being very annoyed that Sunday did not win the poll, but I didn't make the rules. And Ellie asking who's Luke Thomas, who I answered in the chat. Luke Thomas is a guy who he doesn't call himself a journalist, so I'll call him an analyst who covers mixed martial arts. He's very good at what he does, and I watch his live chat every time he puts one out because he's very I think he's very intelligent. I'll be honest. He does annoy me with some of his mannerisms. Like he constantly adds disclaimers and stuff where I'm just like, bro, like, we get it, man. You're not claiming to be the best out there, or your analysis is the only analysis out there. But come on, dude. Like anyone who believes that is stupid. But he's very bright, I think, honestly. And he was a guy who did do speech writing and things like that. But it made him, from what I remember him saying, it made him physically ill because he just hated doing it. He hated doing it, and I can respect that, honestly. I can respect that. So that answers who is Luke Thomas. So it's kind of his format I've based the live chat on, is just setting up the questions. It's something I wanted to do ages ago, but the channel just didn't have the numbers to do it, because you want to get the questions, and I was always wondering, well, what if the people who ask the questions don't turn up? But then you just hope they watch it back after, or the questions people have listed here are interesting to others. So I think these are semi-interesting questions to people at least. based on the fact that there's still an audience here. So I'm assuming people must be interested. So we'll go through some of the topics I got planned for the week. I did not realise I'd spend about 35 minutes talking about these questions because there was only like 4. So that's fun because I want to cut this at 7. But yeah, we'll go through the chat quickly and we'll go through some of the other bits and pieces I want to discuss. So let's see. ID cards mandatory in Germany. Let's see. If you want to open a bank account, if you want to open a phone line, also for healthcare, everything you have to show ID card. I don't think I need. Do I need to show ID? I didn't need ID to get a broadband, from what I remember. Let's see. Try to see if there's any interesting comments. See, ID cards in Germany are mandatory from the age of 16. How do you prove your identity without an ID card? I mean, who would you need to prove your identity to? That's the question. Like, unless the police are stopping you, like, it doesn't really matter that much. Have they published how many people asked for postal votes and then compared to other years? I have no idea. I don't think they have done that. Takes me back to when I used to buy that in school. ID cards, lots of stuff on ID cards. Someone saying they're old. Government stopped giving out cards due to cost. Doesn't surprise me. Tories will nickel and dime everything apart from money to their mates. In Finland, you are registered automatically. I think that's what the UK should do. Honestly, should be automatic registration for people because it's not hard to do. We have public service cards with photo in Ireland, issued free in the local welfare office. They are not mandatory, but having one makes life easier. Renewing driving license. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's. I'm not bothered either way. So I don't care. But the ID cards they give out in like France and stuff, you can use that instead of a passport within the EU, which I find really cool. Do you see a story about Welsh police planning to use facial recognition at a BR? I have not seen that. That is not good. Okay. So we've gone to one of the topics I want to discuss. How have my headphones gotten bigger? Okay. There we go. So I saw this question from what's her name, Beth Rigby, right? And she asked Sunak, how does he deal with how does he deal with loss? I think, which I think was a bit of a weird way to set up the question. I think she should have asked him, how do you deal with failure or failing? That would have made more sense. But Sunak gave me big. Oh crap! Where's the clip gone? Oh no. Oh, sucks. One sec. I've got to find the clip I wanted to reference.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Sorry, I love that clip so much. You guys don't understand. Bear with me one moment. Bear with me 1 second. I'll find the clip I wanted to use, which is... okay, there it is. So yeah, I'll set this one up first, and then we'll... Where is it? Just making a mess. So what I want to discuss is this clip here, and I think Sunak appears very robotic in his response, and he kind of malfunctions. So oh yeah, I'll play it again if you guys want. It's my favourite clip. I played it during my big takedown video on Labour. If you guys haven't watched that, you should. I think it's one of my best projects. But this is from. We'll play this clip now from Beth Rigby.
You're one of like.
It kind of frustrates me that they've got like it's raining in the background, so it's a bit hard to fully hear the question.
Success stories. You were head boy at school. You had a career in finance that made you very wealthy. Now you're prime minister. How do you feel when you lose?
So how do you feel when you lose? Actually, do you know what? Maybe it's not bad. I would have said, how do you deal with failure? I think that would have made more sense.
Sorry.
How do you feel when you lose?
How do you mean, Beth?
Well, you're a winner in life. How do you feel when you don't win?
Well, look, my focus in this job is to deliver for the country. I've set out 5 very clear priorities to halve inflation.
It wasn't just his wife who made him rich. He was, I think he had good money in his own right. Obviously not billionaire money, but he had decent money.
Inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and stop the votes. All I'm doing every day is focus on delivering for people against those 5 priorities. I firmly believe that that's what the country wants me to do. That's what the government is committed to doing, and we're working night and day to make sure that that happens.
So what's happened is she's asked him, how do you deal with losing, essentially, and he kind of glitches back to his talking point. So
well, you're a winner in life. How do you feel when you don't win?
Well, look,
he's like, look,
our efforts to deliver for.
He's like, look, man, I'm trying to deliver for the country. He's like, he's just completely deflecting away from the question, giving an answer that doesn't make sense in the context of this conversation.
Day and night, and I will keep at it.
That morning, were you quite gutted?
As I said, it is disappointing to lose hard-working Conservative councillors. Many of them are friends and colleagues as well. But I'm
I don't know what's going on, mate. I'll be honest.
going to work very hard to deliver for the country, and again, the 5 priorities I've set out, I believe, are the right ones. Those are the country's priorities: to halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists and stop the votes. Day and night, that's what I'm focused on. That's what the government's focused on. And
so that's twice he's gone back to his talking points.
Whilst things are tough, I'm confident that things will improve and people will be able to see that we are delivering for them and improving their lives.
So he's gone back to his talking points twice there. When he was asked about how do you deal with losing, he goes, let's see, there was a second bit here.
Seats at your first test at the ballot box.
It is always
over 1,000 council seats at your first test at the ballot box.
It is always disappointing to lose hard-working councillors, but the message I've taken is the country wants me to redouble our efforts to deliver for them. As I said, the 5 priorities I've set out, I believe, are the right ones.
So he hasn't answered the question at all. He was asked 3 times there, and 2 times he couldn't understand it. Sorry, it's not even 3.5 minutes. What? But point being is that he's gone back to talking points there twice in the space of less than 2 minutes, and he's failed to answer the question, which was, how do you deal with losing or failure? And you know what it reminds me of? Probably my favourite clip of all time, right? This is a clip that I've watched several times, and it's just so good, honestly. So this is the bear with, my phone's just gone to sleep. This is the RNC debates, right? And this is when Chris Christie absolutely destroys Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio kept going back to the same talking point, the same one over and over again. And it's very easy to debunk during a debate. And I feel like this is something Labour, the Lib Dems, the SNP should be watching out for, which is him constantly going back to his talking points. So let's have a watch of this.
Make the same mistake.
Let me know if there's an audio issue as well. Let me know if the volume's too high or too low.
Again.
I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. This country already has a debt problem. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this.
So look, he's got a good punchline there. He should have ended there. He should have ended it here. But what he does is he goes back to his talking point, and that's exactly what Rishi Sunak does. The only problem is Rishi Sunak doesn't do it in a smooth way. When Boris Johnson was asked about fixing the NHS during the 2019 election, right, he brought it back to get Brexit done, and people kind of laughed about it, but that's what he was better at doing, going back to his talking point, hammering the idea of we're going to get Brexit done. Sunak tries that with the 5 pledges, but he doesn't have that ability to kind of smoothly go back to his talking point, if you see what I'm saying. So this is Rubio, and if you compare the two, right, so we'll compare the two actually. So we'll try and compare the two. Yeah, that'd be a good call. So this is Rubio. We'll go back again for Rubio.
Add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state.
So right there, he just said, we shouldn't get in a guy who has, made his state worse, right? Good line to end on. Very good line to end on. Should have left it there, decided to be a fool, and go for his talking point, which is something he repeated about 4 or 5 times during this debate.
But I would add this. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become, once again, the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
You see everybody.
So, it wasn't relevant to anything Chris Christie was saying, right? He was saying about Chris Christie, you put the debt up and all this stuff. But Rubio defaults back to his talking point, and this is what Chris Christie points out.
I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him.
And, I think the audience cheering because they realise that Rubio is, he's just got a talking point, and that's it. And I think the audience saw it for what it was. These are Republicans, guys. Rubio took a shot at Obama. He took a shot at Obama, like a mid shot at him, but you think the audience would be cheering that, but they're not.
See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person. They expect you to plow the snow.
And so this is what I mean, guys. Like, when you look at what, at least Rubio was a bit smoother with this, but you can see his brain kind of pauses. And he defaults back to his talking point. It's about here.
Who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this,
So that's how he kind of brings it in here, and it doesn't make sense for him to do so. So if we go back to the Rigby clip.
How do you mean, Beth?
You don't win.
Well, look, my focus in this job is to deliver for the country. I've set out 5 very clear priorities to...
So he was asked, how do you deal with when you don't win? Oh, I've set out my priorities, and my priority is the country. And it's like, it's just not smooth, is it? The way he's kind of transitioned to his talking points.
Of inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and stop the votes.
So he's memorised that bit of it. He's memorised his 5 pledges, and that's what he keeps defaulting back to. He does it here again when he's asked about, that local election loss, which was really bad, really bad.
1,000 council seats at your first test at the ballot box.
It is always disappointing.
Thank you, Alexis G. Appreciate that. Don't worry about being late. Honestly, my hope is for this stream is to be coherent enough where people go back and they might watch it, tomorrow or the day after. That's my hope, anyways.
Disappointing to lose hard-working councillors, but the message I've taken is the country wants me to redouble our efforts to deliver for them. As I said, the 5 priorities...
There you go, look, there it is. He's defaulted back to his talking point. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? He's defaulted back. His brain kind of pauses for a second. He defaults back to his talking points, and it doesn't even make sense, because if the country were happy with his 5 pledges and saw the country going in the right direction, which, let's be honest now, he missed one of his pledges on the waiting list. That's the problem, and this is going to be his biggest issue, which is he defaults back to his talking points in such a clumsy way where he doesn't look human. He looks like he malfunctions. Whereas Boris Johnson, as faultworthy as he is, he was a lot smoother at this, in my opinion.
Them. As I said, the 5 priorities I've set out, I believe, are the right ones. To halve inflation.
He's going to go back through all of them.
Grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and stop the votes. That's what the country wants us to focus on.
It really doesn't.
That's what I am focusing on day and night, and I will keep at it.
This is what Sunak doesn't want to deal with off-the-cuff questions. That doesn't allow for any of his memorised answers. That's very true. That's very true, Skylar. Like, that's what he prefers, and you think he would have given this interview to Beth Rigby as well. Beth Rigby, I'll be honest, not the best interviewer that Sky has. I think it's Sophie Ridge is a bit better, and there was another lady who was really good as well, and I gave a lot of praise on the channel, but I can't remember her name. She's not one of the like the top 3 kind of female journalists at Sky, but she really should be. She's very good. In the Guardian class sizes. Oh, sorry. I have to do what Guardian class size is. Class size in England could go up to 60. What? Wait, that ain't right. What are you talking about? Could go up to 60. What? No, what? What, 60? No, you can't fit 60 kids in a classroom. What? Head teachers say they will be forced to double class sizes. Huh? Hang on now. I'm going to check this out quickly. Sorry. I'm going to hit you with the old trust but verify. Class. That ain't right. Don't put links in. Don't put links in because YouTube hates it. Trust me. If you're not the original channel, YouTube will see you as a part. You'd have pandemonium, honestly. God damn. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I doubted you now. Jesus Christ. I'll bring this up to the main page. God damn. God damn. God. Wow. Wow. I don't know what to. Wow. I'm speechless. Thanks for this. I'm gonna have to add this to the rotation now. I think they'll have to turn up. I think they'll have to turn up to debates. I don't think they'll have much choice, I'll be honest. Oh yeah, thanks Verti, I almost forgot. Thanks for your super chat. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Sorry about that. I almost missed that one. Sorry, it's completely, my brain has completely taken away. Ooh, this one's yeah, this one's something, all right. Wow. So they want the government insists the schools have to cover the pay rises. By the looks of it, there's still room in school budgets to cover the 4.5% offer. So this is not new money. This is not new money from the government. The government is saying the schools already have the money, which we know is not true. Angry head teachers have warned that next year they will reach the brink with no option but to cut staff and increase class sizes. So what you could see next year is 4-day weeks for schools. This will kill them. This will absolutely 100%. This will kill them at election. This will kill them. I think they're done. I think they're done if this happens, right? Because one of the new Labour pledges was to cut class sizes to 30, I believe. So a senior leader in a large multi-academy trust, speaking anonymously to avoid alarming parents, said, quote, "We will be forced to collapse classes. I'm looking at going from 10 sets in 8 to 8 in maths and English with a top set of 50 kids." Wow. How do you even manage that? If you're a teacher, that you're done. You have to look after 50 kids. Like that's oh my god. Damn. As the senior team has been teaching 100 kids a time in the hall. What? Cover lessons make behavior worse. Yeah. What? I can't. As well as cutting less popular sixth form subject, which is really bad, by the way. All schools should have a wide range of sixth form A-level options. Because you don't want to pick just nerd ones. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's just wow. It's just I can't explain to you guys how stupid this is. This is genuinely insane. Wow, I can't even. My brain can't function. Like, this is that bad. Head teachers and unions say the extra funding has been hoovered up by soaring energy bills, yes, which they have. Largely unfunded pay rises for teachers because it's not new money, it's existing money the schools had. This is absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. Wow. Excuse me. Wow, this is awful. This is so bad. I just feel for these kids, especially some of them going through the COVID era as well. It just doesn't end for them. Yeah, I mean, Alex, mate, if they asked that, they wouldn't get interviews again, would they? Wow. Let me just check the comments quickly, and then we'll just we'll try and we haven't got long left, actually, to be fair. I think TV. Let's see, 60 students in one class, probably use a gym for the but schools only have like 1 or 2 gyms at most. Wow, like, how do you even do PE at that point? What? Like, imagine you got 60 kids, right? How many groups you could have for the Bunsen burner? It's mental. Might be the age, anything to get the unemployment records. What? I think TV will have no balls to go ahead with. They'll just do an empty chair. That's what they've done before. They did it. Good Morning Britain, I believe, did it. Channel 4 did it with the ice sculptures for Johnson and Farage. So they'll just do an empty chair thing. Talking about medieval warfare, someone commented in The Guardian that Brexit was the worst act of self-harm by the British government, the British, since the 100-year war. I think they had a point. I don't know. Why? Let's see. Read the DFE statement at the end. It's laughable. What, at the end of this article? The DFE said, since the government took office, there are now more than 24,000. There are now more than 24,000 more teachers in our. That doesn't even make sense. There are now more than 24,000 more teachers. That sentence doesn't even make sense. Who the hell wrote this? And our secondary schools have an average of 22 pupils per class. What? That ain't right. I don't know. I don't. That's not even true, though. I don't think they do average 22 per class. I'll be honest. I don't think they do. They might be including A levels in there, because A level classes are typically smaller because like people go to college and stuff. Socks having problems too. I don't know. You could try and get them to close it and open it. YouTube, maybe that's the problem. Aki's just scored 2-1 on aggregate. Aki's is the name of a football club. What do kids do next? Swim in the sewage and get put... Oh, no, to be fair, there was one Conservative MP talking about that. He used to swim in the sewage. Yeah. Jeez, Liverpool 1-1 Aston Villa. You'd love to see it. Meanwhile, in Scotland, there's legislation that makes 33 the max. I think even 33 is too high. But, Scotland, because the Barnett formula, they can't set their own proper educational budget. They're always going to be hampered by Westminster until they leave. So I want to say that's still not good enough, but at the same time, I'm not going to berate them for something that they don't have 100% control over. But at least 33 is better than 60. I'll be honest. People talking about rugby, I'm assuming. Believe me, sometimes one kid is too much. I'll take 14 cats. I'd trust me. My cat's got. My cat's enough. Honestly, he can be a right handful at times. Bro doesn't. Give him the option to drink clean water, and he'd rather drink the rainwater that's pulled up outside. Socks having a problem. I can't. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'll be honest. Just if you have problems commenting, just try and close the app and reopen it. In Finland, the class size is 17. So that's good enough. I think 17 to 22 is pretty good. Hamilton academicals equals Hamilton Ackies equals the Ackies. Okay, that makes sense. Get your last few questions in, guys, because I'm gonna leave in the next about 5 minutes. So just get all questions in, and I can answer anything now. I think this stream's gone fairly well, I'd say. I think it's gone okay, so I'm pretty happy about that. So we'll keep doing these once a week. I'll keep trying with Saturdays. It might be different days, but it'll be around 6ish. It just depends, honestly. But if I do it for about an hour's not too bad. 5 minutes. Get your questions in quick, and I'll answer as many as I can. I don't know, mate. I'll be honest. YouTube, honestly, as much as I love YouTube at times, and it's not just because I upload stuff on YouTube, it's as a platform I do like it above some of the other ones. The only thing I really dislike is the fact that you have to pay for YouTube Premium to be able to minimize it, which I think is a crappy feature considering Twitch give you that for free. And with the ads, there's an excessive amount of ads on YouTube, I found, but I found YouTube's not super buggy. I say that's actually a lie. YouTube is super buggy. I know because I use it all the time, but I don't know, Akis, mate. Maybe they can try logging in and out. I'd just give up at that point. They can try and tweet YouTube support, but I'm not sure specifically what the issue is. What are you going to do? You're going to have to figure it out for yourself, big man, because I'm going out for a walk with the fam. So I can't help you there. I might get something to eat as well, actually, because my mum made some dal, which is my second favourite curry. So it's unfortunate for you guys. So yeah, quick, come on. You guys got any questions? Throw them in. If not, we're going to wrap it at the 7 mark. YouTube they pretend to. You can tweet them on Twitter, Team YouTube or something like that. But yeah, no worries. This has been quite fun. So you fix via another. So yeah, honestly, the amount of ads suck. YouTube's one of those things where it's just frustrating to no end sometimes. Streams are good. Roast on Sunday. The UK politics. It's not getting boring. I'm saying to you that for free. Yeah. Hit the like button, gang. YouTube will not get boring anytime soon. I think 6 p.m. is a good slot because I think Phil's going to stream. He's going to stream the next couple of minutes. I'm trying to think who else because I know Blase what's going to stream today, so I don't know what time he actually streams because he watches the football. It might be worth checking because I don't want to. What do you call it? I don't want to try and compete with the other people in the stream. So with streams, but yeah. Thanks, Venceromas, I think. Phil just gone live, 9 seconds ago. Yeah, I'm not too fussed. Someone mentioned curry, English people or Anglophiles would call it dal, but it's called dal in Bengali. That's what we call it, dal. So it's I guess you would pronounce it Dhil. rather than DHAL. That's the only real difference. Yeah, he's had beef with Owen Jones for ages. I think he confronted Owen Jones at the Labour conference last year, I believe. I think he just sees Owen Jones as like a hardcore kind of Corbyn stan who's undermining the Labour Party. But honestly, if Owen Jones is undermining the Labour Party, then the Labour Party have bigger problems than Owen Jones. Just like, excuse me again, sorry about that. Just like if I'm undermining the Labour Party with, me in my living room with, less than 7,000 subscribers, if I'm undermining the Labour Party, then the Labour Party fundamentally has much, much bigger problems than me. Games finished. Blase's team got beat. Oh, you hate to see it. 3-2 on aggregate. I'm assuming that's the playoffs as well. Ooh, that's rough. That is rough. Yeah. So I'll give you guys two more questions, and we'll call it a day. I do enjoy talking to everyone in the audience, and we had a good showing. We had a really good showing. I think we hit nearly 30 people, which is good. So this is a good slot. I think this is a good slot, and I'll take it. So if there's any final questions, I'll do one more. My better half overdosed the garlic. You gotta be careful, man. Some Europeans, man, they love garlic. Blase will be, he'll be upset. The guy loves his team. He'll be upset, no doubt. But yeah, I'm sure he'll go. What's the best topping on pizza? That's tough, innit? So, all right, cheese. Obviously, we're saying cheese isn't the topping. Cheese has to be there. I would say my favorite topping on pizzas is. It's the long-nosed bell peppers. That is for me, or it's pepperoni. It's either pepperoni or the long-nosed bell peppers. It's decent. You got to have decent pepperoni. I think decent pepperoni, I'd say. Decent pepperoni or the long-nosed bell peppers. That's the two. No. I'm not gonna say pineapple. No. I had pineapple pizza once, and I looked at my uncle and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "No, it's really nice." I'm like, "No, it's not. Don't trick me, old man. I know how this works." It was not nice, so I'd not do it again. That's for sure. It was like the pineapple was still juicy, and then someone's like, "Well, that's not real pineapple pizza." I'm like, "There was pineapple on the pizza, so it was pineapple pizza." But you're gonna get cancelled. The Poundland Huns have just equalised again. Goddamn. But yeah, chili. Chili's a good one, I think. But I honestly, if I was gonna eat a lot of pizza, like if there's a big pizza. Bell peppers, I'd say, are better, but if it's a smaller pizza, I'm going pepperoni 100%. 100%. There's a pizza place that opened in the town centre where I live. Me and my friend, we got a vegetable pizza and a pepperoni pizza, and I'll tell you what, man, that pepperoni pizza was pretty damn good. The Americans eat. It's not just them, though, it's not just the Americans, it's other people as well that are doing it, and I don't know why they keep doing it. Stop telling people you enjoy it, because I know you don't. That stuff sucks. And I'm a person who, I don't like pineapple juice, but I like the fruit pineapple. So yeah, I'm not a pineapple hater. But honestly, as a pizza topping, it's not a good pizza topping. Canada invented the hot. Canadians should have been cancelled for that, honestly. That should have been the real red flag that the Canadians are not the good people that I think they are. In Italy, you cannot have pineapple. Yeah, they'll probably kill you. They'll put like a thing, like a pig's head in your bed or some nonsense like that. Them people, man, you tweak any of their recipes. They're like, you insult my grandma. They'll attack you. They're vicious, man. Absolutely vicious. They do hand gestures and all sorts. One group of people you don't mess with when it comes to food is definitely the Italians. I think probably the Spanish shortly after that, but you don't mess with the Italians when it comes to food. Pineapples in. Do you know what? I kid you not, right? My cousin, she makes a really good pineapple upside down cake. So yeah, surprisingly, pineapples are very good in cakes. Yes, and yogurt. I've not tried pineapple yogurt. That could be interesting. All right, last question. Quick, last question, and we out. I will do one more, the final one. Make it a good one, people of the audience. Make it a good question. That's what I want to see. One good question. One good question to rule them all. is there going to be one member of the audience that rises above the rest and asks me a good question? Let's see. The upside down cake is un tat. What does that? Am I going to have to put the French ban in again? Alright, what's my shoe? That's a bit of a sus question to ask. My shoe size is 11 in the British size. I've got like, my feet are quite wide, so my shoe size is 11. Who's going to win the next election? I think it'll be a Labour majority. I think it'll be a good Labour majority, honestly. I think the Lib Dems will win a tremendous amount of seats in the south. I think they will. I think during the coalition they were at 50. I think the Lib Dems will go 30 plus. What surprise is going to happen? I think the biggest surprise will be Tory voters not turning out. I think that will be. I don't know if that's a surprise. But yeah, any bets on how much the UK GDP will drop this year? I don't think it's going to drop that much, but I think it's going to stay below pre-pandemic levels. That's my prediction for it. 11, I have 44. Yeah, but mine's in 11 Great British size. There is no English term for tartar. I know it's French. Yeah, but so no French side. The Ma bakes upside down cakes. She never mastered baking them right side up. I'll get my coat. Alright, and on that bombshell, we will end the stream. But yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks for the super chats that we got today as well. So, really appreciate those. It does help. It goes a long way. But I will try and keep this as a weekly thing. Because I think it's a good format, I think, and hope everyone appreciated it. I think if you ask questions on the community posts, I will answer those at the start of the video, and you can just watch those if you want answers. And eventually, I'm sure when the production goes up on this, I will add timestamps for the questions. Hopefully, that will be people appreciate that, and it adds some value, and it makes it a lot easier to watch the streams. But had a good showing today of people. Just want to see. How many people did we peak at? Peaked at 28 people. That's really good. So yeah, well, I'll keep these up, and once a week, questions. Get your questions in the community section. I'll have some topics as well for the stream. But yeah, we'll go for about an hour and 10 at most. I'll just keep these short. And I'll pack in as much content as possible. And like, comment, share, subscribe. Let the people know Big Maj, Saturdays 6 p.m. BST. He's out here and he's going to be streaming. And tell the people they best be here. And I'll catch you lot next time. All right, bye bye.